Hey guys, let's talk about variables. What are variables? Who are variables? Why are variables, right? Like in coding, we use them all the time. So I'm here in Google Colab. I'm going to be coding in Python. Variables are a thing in every type of coding, but we're going to learn how to do it here specifically in Python. If you've never used Google Colab before, it's great because you don't have to download Python on your computer. Just have to go to Google Colab on Google, click on this, open a new notebook by clicking that, and then you'll be at a screen similar to mine, right? It should start you out with a little code block here. That's the other thing about this is they use cells. So notice I can do multiple cells of code. And that can be good for certain reasons. I can code all in one block if I wanted to. I tend to do a little bit of both with this program, but no matter what, you can kind of code to your style. So let's get right into it. What are variables and why? So variables are simply just a place where you can store data. So I like how someone here puts something equals something, right? Or a variable can also be changed. It's anything that can be changed. And this is kind of talking of a scientific way, but it's very similar. In coding, you set them and you can alter them and update them, but it's really a place where data is being stored. So in this case, I might have a variable that I set up that's called name. Notice I didn't have to write anything in strings. It knows that this, if I put equal after a certain thing, it's then going to set whatever I put next to the equal sign as the value for this. Well, let me type it out. It'll make more sense. So, okay, if we click run, so technically name equals Josh. If we click this X for our variables, the nice thing about this, once I run this and you see this little check up here, it's now saved my variable. Looks like I was using this before. Can I kill that? Let's restart my runtime. I just want to get rid of all prior variables. Okay, cool. We got rid of them. So blank page. All right, we're starting. And now you see name pop up, and it is 4 characters long, and it is Josh. So, okay, we're also going to hit this type here. That's very important when doing certain things. So we're storing a type of data. There's 4 that we're going to go over. So we can have age equals that. I don't know. Bank account number. Just kidding. I mean, you could do that, but let's see. If we did just do price, prices are usually decimals. So notice that this and this are actually going to be considered different, and I'll show you that in a second because of the decimal. And then we do have one more. We'll call it checked in equals false. So each of these, you'll be able to see this is a string. So the type of data that we're setting is a string for the first one because you can usually tell because they're wrapped in either apostrophes or quotation marks. Python will accept both. This is an integer. This is considered a float. So any decimal is a float. Integers are whole numbers. And this is considered Boolean. Now Boolean sounds like a scary word. It's a little bit daunting the first time that you're coding. That just simply means that it's true or false. So it's either one or the other. And realize that when this is going through the compiler and it's so it's being read by the computer, it's actually reading it as true or false and not as a string version of true or false. It has its own data type. So let's go ahead and run this and see what comes up on the other side. So we'll see that, let me pull this out a little bit for you. Age is an integer. It doesn't have a shape, I guess, but it does have a value of 26. Checked in was Boolean. False, name was Josh, price was $12.99. Now, all the time, usually if you're running an if statement and you're trying to check whether or not something equals your variable, and you feel like you're doing it correctly, a lot of times it comes down to the type of data that's being checked. Maybe I'll show you an example of that later, but 26 does not match the string of 26, basically. Okay, why would we ever want to update these? It happens all the time. You know, throughout your program, variables can change, which is awesome. And in Python, you can even change the type of the data, so it's not type sensitive. It's usually not the best practice to do that because you might be running if statements, and you don't want to constantly be checking the data type and changing your statement based on that. But you still can do it. The way I typically will do it is I'll just, put everything that would be, like age would be all my integers, right? And all the names would be strings. So, but it can't update. So for instance, if I said name equals input, okay, this right here is just asking it to go on a new line. So everything after this will be on a new line, and you'll see why I did that. Print name. Okay, notice that the input box is on a new line. That is why I did that in the first part. So maybe my name switched to Jeremiah. And then click enter, and we printed the new name. So maybe I want to make it look nice and say your name is name. Notice in the brackets it's a different color. I can put my variables in there if I start my print sentence with an F. So let's print this again. It was Jeremiah last time. It remembers that if you're looking right here. Maybe we'll update it to, I don't know. I'm running out of names here, Michael. Your name is Michael. So there we go. Often your name won't change. It's just the people using it will change the name. So if you're running a program, it's going to ask people for their name, and that can change based on that. Let's do one in another situation. A lot of times things will change in a loop. So for year in range, oh boy, let's just say it's been 10 years. So this range 10 is just asking it to loop 10 times, and we're going to say age equals age plus year. I can go ahead and do this as well, say start at 1 and go to 10, because my age is 26. By the end I should be 36, right? So let's print age. I don't know. See how that goes? 27, 29, 32. Things are not matching up here. Things are not matching up. Is it stepping? Well, 27, 2. Well, it's adding 9 to, well, okay, that makes sense. So each time it's adding, right, like it goes from 27, then it adds 2 to that. Then it adds, what would it be, 3 to this? No, 4 to that. And then, so each time it's just becoming a higher number. So if I wanted to do, I wonder if I can do this. Will this be any different? Hey. Well, if I wanted to add 1 to my age every year, it would be like this. And we need to rerun this so I can have 26 again. There we go. So age equals age plus 1. and that is more like it. So I'll now be 36 years old after 10 years. Okay, so that's in a loop. Last thing that you might see is an if statement. So we'll say is checked in equal to true. If it is equal to true, then we want to print thank you for checking in. Sorry about my spelling, guys. I'm not very good at typing. Okay, as you can see, it's on the spot. It's always scary when you're on the spot. If we don't check in, we want to say okay, go to the front desk check-in, and we're actually going to now change it and assume that we went to the front desk to check in, and so we'll say it now equals true. Let's go ahead and run this. It was originally set to false up here, and so it ran this line here, please go to the front desk and check in, then it ran this. So now we can see checked in is true. Let's run this again, and we should get a different thing. So you can change things in an if statement, you can change it in a for statement or input, or you can just change it as is, right? You know, you can add another code and say price now equals, we're going up in price like everything else, right? So we're changing it to $19.99, and price is now updated. So there are going to be times where you choose not to change variables. That's totally fine. It's just a way to store your information that you're going to use later, and that way you don't have to type it out again. It's a quicker way to grab things that you're always going to be using, and to dynamically grab them as well. So there's how to use variables and why we use them in coding. So I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, give it a thumbs up and subscribe, and we will see you next time.